I'm very fine.
Happy Sunday.
Yes, same to you, dear, and by regards to the listeners at home.
All right, Barrister, very quickly. INEC Chair Amupitan is on a crosshair. So they're asking him to resign because he expressed some form of partisanship which linked towards the ruling party. INEC has come out to clear its name, but something obviously took place that was not convincing enough when they came out to make that statement via X. A presidential aide, or Olusegun Dada, actually made a tweet, right, which obviously was similar to what INEC put out. So Nigerians were like, why will an aide of the president on social media be responding on behalf of INEC? And why would INEC repost that same thing? Even if INEC came out to say it has nothing to do with them, their post is not a copy of what the president's aide did. The president's aide also came out to say, we did not release any statement on their behalf. They're saying that their accounts were hacked, or it's not their real account. But the big question is, why will APC as a political party and why will their bigwigs be supporting anything INEC is doing when INEC is meant to be an independent institution? Because that is why they're saying INEC is an extension of the All Progressives Congress. What's your take on this, sir?
Well, thank you very much. I think we really appreciate this Amupitan fellow because from the very onset, with almost a year to the elections, he has told us the kind of person he is. We now know what to expect if he continues in office. This is different from the time of Mahmoud Yakubu and Tahiru Jega, when both of them, this past INEC chairman, were pretending as if they were going to be objective. They were sounding intelligent, and they were sounding like they were really going to give us a free and fair election. But in this case, what is going on now, it is clear to everybody that Amupitan is an extension of the APC. He's just there to do the work and behest of the APC. So there is no mistaking that fact. So, but the issue now is, what will Nigerians do in response to this absurdity? Because look, where do we start from? Is it his reaction to the interpretation of the Court of Appeal order of status quo ante? The status quo issue was just that he should let the facts, the state of affairs before the case was filed to remain. But rather than do that, because before the case was filed, David Mark was the chairman of ADC. But what Amupitan did was to destroy the ADC. Because by removing the name of the executives of the ADC from the INEC register, he has virtually delisted the ADC. So the good thing in all this is that we now know where this man is heading to. We now know who he's working for. And all the nonsense about giving us free and fair and credible elections is not there. There will be no hope of such with Amupitan still in office. So the issue now is, what will Nigerians do? And I think we have started on a very good note. Nigerians are now demanding effectively that this Amupitan fellow who calls himself the Senior Advocate of Nigeria, should resign, should be kicked out of office, because he has totally shown he doesn't have the capacity, he doesn't have the integrity, he doesn't have even the common sense to continue in this route if the way he's doing is what he'll be doing. Thank
Barrister Eze Richard, I want you to take a listen to this very quickly before I ask you my next question.
Next position agrees with us that the party did hold a NEC meeting on the 29th of July 2025, during which distinguished Senator David Mark and His Excellency Ogbeni Rauf Adebosola were elected as the National Chairman and National Secretary of African Democratic Congress ADC, respectively. INEC also confirmed in their report as Exhibit INEC number 1 that they attended the NEC meeting and that the NEC meeting produced distinguished Senator David Mark and Rauf Adebosola as National Chairman and National Secretary. They also confirmed the fact that the document, they have produced a report, which the report they attached. So INEC is on the same page with us as far as this matter is concerned. The plaintiff's case is speculative, is premised on gossip. The case is premised on an activity that never existed. Their argument is that that the Senator David Mark and Rauf Adebosola emerged as the National Chairman and Secretary of the party on the 22nd day of July 2025. And we are saying no. You don't have any document to prove that. But we have document to show that on the 4th day of July 2025, the party did serve INEC a notice of their NEC meeting to be held on the 29th day of July 2025. And on the 29th day of July 2025, the meeting held, INEC attended, and INEC produced the report. So the evidence is before the court. While we have evidence before the court to back up our claim that the NEC meeting held on the 29th and not 2nd July 2025 or any other date, they don't have any document to support the assertion. We also raised the issue of locus standi. What is the locus of this? The person who filed this matter is not an official of the party. He's a member of the party. And the Supreme Court is very clear that any issue that borders on internal affairs of a local party, no individual has any right to institute the action, and no court has jurisdiction to entertain it.
So, Barrister FLHA, this was obviously, you know that the David Mark leadership sued INEC, and the case is in court at the moment. INEC in court admitted that indeed they recognized David Mark leadership. They were invited, they were present during all the inauguration documents signed, pictures taken. So, what happened? What's court's jurisdiction? All right, under what warrant did INEC come out to interpret and say we're not recognizing David Mark and we're not recognizing Nafiu Bala just because of the whole antebellum thing? Who is INEC and what role were they to play to help the court interpret anything when they were not meant to do so, if they admitted that they were present during the recognition of the David Mark leadership?
Yeah, thank you very much. The reality is this man, they know, perhaps the APC and this Mr. Amupitan fellow never thought that the African Democratic Congress will come back together and be strong enough the way they are, because they have set up so many obstacles. So they are shocked, even with regards to the online registration of members. Within a period of less than 2-3 weeks, the African Democratic Congress has registered over 4 million members across the country. So the INEC was now shocked, and they saw the rate at which this African Democratic Congress was growing. So in desperation, they now feel that the only thing they can do is to delist or deregister the African Democratic Congress. So it is out of desperation that this fellow is doing what he's doing. But then what I would expect the African Democratic Congress to do is to go back to the Court of Appeal and file a contempt charge against Amupitan, because what the court ordered was clear, that the status quo ante bellum, which is the state of affairs before the litigation, should be maintained. But INEC went beyond that contemptuously to try to delist and deregister the African Democratic Congress. So I will expect the ADC to file a charge of contempt before the same Court of Appeal against Amupitan. And I also urge the Nigerian Bar Association to take up matters, so maybe even bring this character before the Legal Professional Disciplinary Council Committee, because what he has done is a slight on the legal profession. It rubbishes the legal profession, and sadly enough, this character is supposed to be a senior advocate of Nigeria. Even a first-year law student knows that the meaning of status quo ante bellum is the state of affairs before the litigation, before the war. Now, the simple question is this: before this litigation was filed, was there no leadership of the African Democratic Congress? And if there was, that is what the Court of Appeal ordered to be maintained. But in his viciousness, in his desperation, this Amupitan fellow, who is supposed to be a senior advocate of Nigeria, went all the way to say they would delist a party. And he's doing that knowing full well that there is a time frame within which a party must hold its congresses, and that there's a time frame within which they hold that congress so that they can have candidates for the next election. So once they don't have those congresses before that time, the African Democratic Congress will not be able to submit candidates for the 2027 election. So that is the ultimate plan of Mr. Amupitan. And that is why he must not be the one to chaperone the next election. He must get out of office. Otherwise, there's even no need to bother with the election. Because apparently he has already had his vote, he has written its results, and let him go and announce it. But Nigerians must insist that our votes must count, and the vote cannot count with a character, with a biased official, with a biased umpire like Mr. Amupitan at the helm of affairs of INEC.
All right,
now the worry is
okay. Amupitan has come out to say that he's a neutral and objective person, that at no point has he supported any political party in any way. He has also insisted that he has maintained a professional standing and that it is a fake account that was publicized. He has come out to distance himself by saying that account is not his. The account that actually showed that displayed a support of Dio Israel, the APC youth leader, in 2023, where he said, yes, for sure, victory is ours. But why do you think that the INEC as an institution, anything they do is suspicious? There's this prism that they are placed on. Could it be because of how the previous leadership of INEC conducted itself? Do you think it is what is being transferred to Amupitan? Or in what way, help us explain it, has Amupitan exhibited mannerisms, conducts, and coordination of INEC affairs that puts him in light to be an extension of the ruling party?
Now, the reality is this. I mean, I'm not going to go into the debate of whether he has a social media account or he doesn't have one. But I will tell you, I'll be surprised if a supposed professor of law, a senior doctor of Nigeria, does not have a social media account. So but that is not even the issue. What we are looking at is what has he done, the action he has taken. Does it show bias? Does it evidence bias? And I've told you clearly that when the Court of Appeal gave an order that the status quo antebellum must be maintained, it means the state of affairs of ADC before the court matter was filed. So this evident bias Mr. Amupitan has clearly shown to everybody who wants to bother to listen that he is a biased fellow. He's not going to be an unbiased umpire, and he is unfit and improper to lead the INEC up to the election. I mean, if he had any iota of integrity, if he had any shame left in himself, if he had any respect for his own family and the name he bears, one would have expected this character to resign and get the hell out of office. Because if he continues, it is very clear that there will be no elections. I mean, it will be like virtually one-party state. Because what they want to do, what this INEC wants to do, having rubbished the Labour Party, having decimated the People's Democratic Party, the only other party that has a national outlook, national presence, is the African Democratic Congress. If they also try, if they just allow them to rubbish this African Democratic Congress, that means we have virtually a one-party state, because all the other parties are briefcase political parties. Most of them don't even have any presence in more than 10 or 15 wards. And how can we call those ones political parties? So the reality is this. Mr. Amupitan has shown evident bias that has made him ineligible to continue in the position of the INEC Chairman. So for goodness sake, let him resign.
Do you think he will resign?
Now, if he does not resign, Nigerians must resort to popular will. Just like the popular will of Nigerians compelled INEC to shelve their initial plan to do
revalidation exercise.
Yes. We must all come out onto the streets. We must do whatsoever. We should let them know, let the system know that enough is enough. Perhaps this is the red line, because if you meet this red line and this character continues in office, there's no need bothering with elections. Absolutely no need to bother with campaigns. Because we have seen evidently that this character called Amupitan is out to discredit any opposition political party. He will not even bother to listen to the protest by those who contested or who tried to contest in the APC, that's African All Progressive Congresses, that we are not allowed, that we are not even given the forms to fill. INEC has no mention on those issues, whether they are focused on the other opposition political parties. So the reality is this: if Nigerians miss getting this character out of office, there is virtually no need to continue with the plans for election. They should rather save that money and just announce from now that Mr. Tinubu has won. And let us see if Nigerians will be willing to tolerate the continuation of the hardship, of the devastation that the Tinubu administration has forced on Nigerians in the past 2.5 years. God forbid that, though.
All right, Barrister, the last public outing of INEC and the ADC, the legal team of the ADC came out to say INEC did admit in court to recognizing and was part of the David Mark, inauguration committee leadership, and they were present and all of that. So if that is the case, do you think at the end of the day that the David Mark leadership will be relisted? Because that is basically what David Mark did. They immediately sued INEC to court for delisting or deregistering them as the leadership of the ADC.
Now, the reality is this. If one single man, Mr. Amupitan, does an error, something that is even in contempt of court, by erroneously removing the names of the African Democratic Congress leadership from the INEC list, that name we believe is still there. Because something that was done in error cannot obviate the reality, the legal position. And the legal position, I keep on repeating, is what the Court of Appeal ruled, that the status quo ante bellum, which is before the case was filed, is what should be the procedure for now. So that Mr. Amupitan made that mistake does not mean that the African Democratic Congress officials have been removed from the INEC list. That is why I really appreciate the decision of the African Democratic Congress executives to continue with their primaries and with their congresses. They should continue with it. There will be effort by the police, the DSS, and whatever government officials to try to scuttle it, but they should continue because they are on the right or on the stand of legality and not these characters in INEC who are modeling the legal process.
Finding cheap flights for my last-minute trip to Ghana was a hassle, but the Wakana mobile app...
The legal process.
All right, Barry, so let me ask you this before I let you go. Why will someone who is a major participant in the 2027 elections be the same person, based on what is on the Constitution, to nominate the head of the institution that will conduct its election? Because I'm wondering how this is basically the reason why Nigerians cannot even trust anything INEC tries to do. They'll always be questioned to everything they do because they feel that the current administration and the current leadership nominated him and the Senate screened and approved him. So anything that he does will be seen from the prism of working for the current political party. So why is that so? Before Tinubu's administration, why was it not something that was pushed where an independent organization or a body would select the head of an institution that would decide the fate of Nigerians when it comes to leadership representation? Why will it be a sitting president who will be participating in the upcoming election to choose an individual who will head that institution that will conduct its election? Why do you think Nigerians will trust any outcome of that election?
Thank you very much. You see, item of course that the Nigerian Constitution is a fraudulent document. Some people don't realize this. A lot of sections or provisions of that Constitution is just insane, insanity. It does not make any sense. In fact, what you are seeing now, when Mr. Tahiru Jega was appointed as INEC Chairman, I personally went to court because what the Nigerian Constitution provided as at then, Section 157, was that the INEC Chairman must have the qualities of a member of the House of Reps, which means he must belong to a political party. But that provision has been changed now due to the case I filed against Tahiru Jega. So the reality is that the Nigerian Constitution, the totality of it, has so many obstacles, has so many loopholes that you wonder, was this really a constitution that was meant to last? In fact, some people have opined that this constitution was actually a booby trap, that the military never wanted to even allow these democracies to succeed. That is why they put in so many errors, in so many mistakes in the constitution. And this is one of them, that the sitting president will appoint the ombudsman that will manage the election. And you see what is leading us to. Characters that are bereft of any integrity are being turned out, and they come in to make a mockery of election. And it permeates through the system. It's not just this Amupitan fellow. Before him, there was Mahmoud Yakubu, who is also a person that lacks integrity. So what has been circulated so far has been professors who are based, immoral characters, have been foisted as INEC Chairman, and they just do the will of the existing president. And it's getting worse because nowadays we are having desperados as president. We are having, unlike in the past, even when the PDP was in office, that they could lose an election. Nowadays, with the characters in the APC, they will never lose an election no matter how bad or how horrible they are ruling. That is why we have, some of us have said severally that what we need in Nigeria is to totally ditch this Nigerian constitution. Let the people, the constituent nationalities of Nigeria come together and decide on a new framework, and not the 1999 constitution, because that constitution is fraught with irregularities and illegalities. One of which is that the president should appoint the INEC chairman and the commissioners. In fact, apart from just the INEC chairman, several hand-picked APC members are state commissioners of INEC as we speak. There are loyalists of Wike who serve as INEC commissioners in different states. So what are we talking about? But we are only focused as Mr. Amupitan because he has now acted in a manner that has exposed him as a biased umpire. But in the states, you have several of such characters who will just reel out figures irrespective of what people say or what people vote for the election.
You're referring to the resident electoral commissioners.
What?
You're referring to the resident electoral commissioners, most of them being APC members.
In states, yes. They're also appointed by the presidency, and some of them are known APC card-carrying members. You have a member of a political party being a state INEC resident officer. So what do you expect from those elections? That is why no matter what happens, look at the state election. Despite whatever effort the people make you, somebody just announces any result and that comes to stay. And then you have rascals as governors in several states. It's a pity.
All right,
a real pity.
Before I let you go, let's take a listen to this. The president says that he's the most qualified for the job of leading this country. If that is the case, what he has instituted, has it worked? And is it time for him to actually do what you call either a reversal or some kind of mysterious strategy to put us on the right path? Let's take a listen to him again with Peter Okuche of the BBC way back in 2022.
Was generated.
Hey, excuse me, shit, what? Are they proving it? The World Bank has in the IMF.
Firstly, thank you very much for talking to the BBC. First of all, how are things going with you with the campaigning?
Things are going very well. I'm very, very confident and that this election, free and fair, I'm the front runner. And that is why I'm getting many arrows.
We'll talk about one or two of the arrows in a bit. Let's talk about your priorities. If you do win the elections in February and you're sworn into office come May 29th, what are your priorities?
Security and economic recovery to accelerated development, to get Nigeria employed and get inflation down. Monetary policy needs to be changed. Subsidy needs to be decided upon and removed.
Security is a big problem for.
Do we have complaints? Why are Nigerians groaning? Why are they saying no? Could it just be it's his person? Could it just be because it's a southern candidate? What exactly happened? Where was the magic wand that was carried out in Lagos that couldn't be carried out at the federal government? Sir, your response, please.
Give me 30 seconds and I'll make you learn AI. Watch this.
So this is how I became the most...
Please.
There was no magic wand. There was no magic. What Mr. Tinubu deployed in Lagos was the mafia style of governance. The El Capone, if you know about the El Capone family mafia family in Chicago, that was what Mr. Tinubu deployed. He took charge of the, in fact, he pocketed the finances, had thugs at every facet, every level of society, every street had a loyal thug. So that issue, the loyalty cascaded upwards. So that is what he's trying to deploy at the national level, and that is why he's having a problem. Because not all parts of Nigeria will key into such mafia style of governance. That is why he's having problems, because not everybody will be so ethnic, so dense as to follow one man even if he's leading you down the hill. Look at Lagos State. Virtually all the infrastructural developments in Lagos were even done by the military when they were in office. What did Mr. Tinubu achieve in Lagos? Even the tax, he only increased the taxing through Alpha Beta. So but now all those things he's trying to do at the federal level, where there is a diversity of people at the national level, it can't work, and it shouldn't work. because he virtually enslaved Lagos. Somebody from Irapaji in Osho State coming to enslave Lagos, and he thinks he will enslave the whole of Nigeria. It doesn't work that way. That is the issue. So Nigeria is a more diverse, a more broad spread locality where such antics can never work. You can pocket maybe 10-15 million in Lagos. You cannot pocket 250 million across Nigeria. It's not done. And that is the issue. Now, if he was even ruling with altruistic motives, if he was ruling with that, and we are seeing the results in the lives of the people, and there was improvement, there was development across the board, then we say, okay, let's give him a trial. But unfortunately, in every indices of governance, in every facet of human existence and human development, be it education, sports, health, security, everything, you name it, Mr. Bola Tinubu has been an abysmal failure. So when he makes such comments that he's not as competent as him, you now wonder what is his definition of competence. Is competence or is failure competence in his own language? But that is not the language of Nigerians. Nigerians believe that a competent man should lead us forward, not backwards. Rather, Mr. Tinubu has invested seriously in insecurity and dividing the peoples of the country by his ethnocentric appointments. That is not competence. So let's now take on that. His comment then was just a political comment. That is, none of the other two are better than him. The other two, by the widest margin, are far better than Bola Tinubu.
Wow. All right, Barrister, I remember I said that before I let you go. The president in 2022 told us that his first priority will be security, although he did not tell us how he was strategically going to handle it. When we started the conversation this evening, we had an interruption. So for some of us that did not get to listen to it, let's take a listen to it again. So, Barrister, please pay keen attention to this.
Thank you very much for talking to the BBC. First of all, how are things going with you with the campaigning? Many Nigerians, and I remember in this very room in 2015. Excellency, thank you very much for talking to the BBC. First of all, how are things going with you with the campaigning?
This is going very well.
It was generated.
Hey, excuse me, share what? Have they proven it? The World Bank has, IMF has investigated the record in Lagos. What's wrong with them?
And I want to move away from that.
It's envy.
I think you've kind of explained that, and we don't have much time. If you were not running for president, sir, you have two main opposition candidates, Abubakar Atiku and Peter Obi, who people are saying, he's the young upstart, and I mean that in a very positive way.
Young where?
Young upstart.
Have they been governor of Anambra 8 years?
Anyway, Your Excellency, if you weren't running for president, which of your two major opponents would you be voting for?
None.
Why not?
Because they are not as competent as any other person out there. They have no track record. None of them is qualified except me.
Excellency, thank you very much for talking to the BBC. First of all, how are things going with you with the campaigning?
This is going very well. I'm very, very confident and that this election, free and fair, I'm the front runner. And that is why I'm getting many arrows.
We'll talk about one or two of the arrows in a bit. Let's talk about your priorities. If you do win the elections in February and you're sworn into office come May 29th, what are your priorities?
Security and economic recovery to accelerated development, to get Nigeria employed and get inflation down. Monetary policy needs to be changed. Subsidy needs to be decided upon and removed.
Security is a big problem for many Nigerians. And I remember in this very room in 2015, I asked President Muhammadu Buhari when he was campaigning about that issue. And he said, well, we know what we're going to do. We know what we're going to do. The problem still persists. What are you going to do specifically?
It actually reduced. I would defend him for that. Then 17 local governments and about 4 states where we have flags of foreign jihadists in Nigeria. That is no more. That is long gone. To start a chaos is easy. To bring normalcy and redemption.
Now, wow, they were not exaggerating when they said kids grow overnight. This literally just...
And redemption.
His administration, although he talked about the fact that there was room for improvement. Now, the president said what he was going to do was to employ more military personnel, but he also said that there may be an improvement or there may not be an improvement depending with how he collaborates with the international communities, but that there are alternatives, and the alternative is to ensure that we have more men deployed into the military. But perhaps what is happening right now is that in the military we're seeing an extreme target on top individuals that are possibly fighting insecurity. We have heard that there are collaborators from other foreign nations in this, that there's also pressure in the Sahel, and that the Nigerian territory, because it's not protected, they have found this a harbinger to coordinate. Unfortunately, the ungoverned spaces have been taken over by these individuals for decades on, since Buhari came on board, that now the terrorist cells have morphed and we have different terrorist groups. This is what is overwhelming the Nigerian military. There are also talks of politics within the Nigerian military ranks. Obviously, either intelligence is not shared on time or equipment are not properly given. All of the inadequacies and vulnerabilities within our military sector is what is displayed, where we're seeing most of our soldiers being killed on the war front. Barrister, we've also heard that even the presidency, the seat of power, is even not so safe. So what does this state about our military apparatus and our military structure?
Thank you very much. When you listen to what Mr. Tinubu and his response to that BBC interview, you realize he is an abysmal failure. His 2.5 years in government has been an abysmal failure. In terms of the security issues, if under Jonathan we had 17 local government areas that was under terror control, now we have well over 200 local government areas. About half of Niger State, most of Borno, Yobe, Kebbi, Zamfara, they are all state areas where local government chairmen have to pay money to terrorists to survive. So that shows you that there has been a depreciation, and we have not had so many generals being killed by these terrorists, and near zero response from our military. Nowadays, it is no longer the issue of the terrorists attacking towns and villages. The terrorists attack military bases and military formations. So it shows you that there has been an abysmal failure in the area of security. And the other areas Mr. Tinubu mentioned in that report, in that interview, unemployment has skyrocketed. Virtually all multinational firms have disappeared, except in the oil sector. In every facet of development, we are feeling the pains of this maladministration by the Bola Tinubu regime. And the annoying thing is that a man has the temerity to bring himself forth for re-election based on what? In other climes, when you've been in office, you say, I've done A, B, C, D, so because of what I've done, please elect me. And not to come and start giving out promises when you are already in government. The ones you promised for how far? Absolutely zero, nothing. So it's just a shame that we don't have a system whereby you interrogate these elected officials effectively, because they won't even sit down for interviews. Mr. Tinubu does not sit down for interviews to respond to issues, because he knows that he will have near zero response to this issue. So on the issue of security, he should not even bother talking about security, because we now know that his government, the senior officials in his government, refer to these terrorist Islamist jihadist elements as their brothers. Nuhu Rebadu says that repeatedly. General Oluyede, the chief of defense staff, says the same thing. So if we now know that these killers, these people who kill Nigerians, are the brothers of this administration. So maybe they're investing in security rather than investing to secure our lives. So we know who the enemy is now. It's now left to Nigerians to ensure that come the next election, we don't make the mistakes we made in the past. And that is the more reason why the Amupitan fellow, the INEC chairman, must not be allowed to drag Nigerians backwards. We will move forward come 2027.
Barrister S.A. Ruche, thank you so much for your candid insight into the conversation that we had this evening on the Political Spotlight. I sincerely do appreciate you.